this weekend while we were having this call, and I realized that this came up many times over the last couple months with a lot of developers that are trying to create replayable games. Hey, I want a lot of people to play my game, right? I want it to be replayable. I'm inspired by, Isaac, or I'm inspired by Slay the Spire. I'm inspired by Dead Cells, right? Does this ring a bell? This is a lot of people. This is a lot of people, right? That sounds like a very normal thing. We hear a lot of developers say that, right? Well, we could talk about Wizard of Legends, Ember Knight, Hades, Raven's Watch, and all these games that I'm naming, right? It's like, oh, sounds good. Let's be inspired by them. They made a lot of money. All of these games have something in common. They actually lack replayability in its true sense. And we're going to talk a little bit about that perspective today. And I don't know how this opened up. I was sitting with a client, and I asked them to describe to me what pushed these people, right? Like, what pushed them? Why does these games inspire them and that they're trying to capture now, right? What it did it for them, right? And we'll get these different kind of answers, and I'm gonna try to blanket a little bit, right? I had one recently this weekend say, I love Slay the Spire, but I love Dead Cells more because it gives me more variety and it gives me more replayability. It allows me to pick like my biome that I want to go to. And I asked them to develop further because I wanted to hear how they talk about those things and why it brings them a lot of joy, right? Why they think it's really replayable. And so I encourage them to keep talking because I need to hear how they talk about it. And so what I was told, and I found this very interesting, and here we're going to talk about we'll talk about Dead Cells. We're just going to use this as a catalyst, as an example, right? Not to prove a point about it. Dead Cells is a very, very cool, very great game for its time. And he was talking about Dead Cells, and he was explaining, well, SD, I can go through the promenade or whatever, and then go to the sewers. And then on a different run, next time I play, I don't have to go there, and I'll go here. I'll go to the promenade. I don't know how to spell promenade. We'll call it prom. And you can see, oh, so it's different, right? It's different. And so I let them get it out, right? They're very passionate. Yeah, I get to go here one run. I get to go to here the other run, right? And when I dared challenge that a little bit, right? And I challenged it just a little bit to see what their thought process would be. I said, when you go to the sewers, how different is the sewers from the previous time you go to sewers? And they sat there for a bit, and they didn't really have an answer to it. They said, well, not that different. And I said, okay, let's try something else. If we took the other areas out and you only got to keep going to sewers, would it be replayable? And you could see that, like, they started to be challenged there about the thought process. Okay, so what it told me is, and again, just being open to the conversation, I kind of knew where it was going, but we needed to push them, to guide them, to run into these issues and these challenging questions themselves. So what we discovered is that the replayability wasn't happening here. What they came to is the replayability isn't happening in sewers, because the sewers, as they said, and again, if you're like, what the hell is the sewers? It's just a area in Dead Cells that you can go to. One of the areas. The replayability isn't there. It's usually the same. I said, okay, so that's not the part bringing you joy, right? Because a second ago, when you were talking about it, it's a lot of replayability, the choices of going to these different biomes. But we know that if we keep going to sewers, or when we go to sewers, it's actually not that different. So I said, oh my God, it must be happening beforehand. It must be happening in here somewhere, right? Huh. Okay, let's think further. So it's replayable because we get choice, maybe, to go to sewers or promenade? right? Here's the little developer. Let's give him like a light bulb or something. Like what symbolizes developer? I don't know. Okay, that's not a light bulb, I guess. Here's developer playing Dead Cells. Okay, this is not replayable. Is it replayable because I have a choice between two things? Is that driving replayability? Because now all of a sudden, that doesn't sound that exciting, right? Is replayability the ability to choose between two places? I could go here, I can go here. Now this is replayable? I can keep playing it? I can play it for thousands of hours? So then they described, yeah, so I went to sewers last run. This time I can go to promenade, right? I can make it different. I can make it different. Interesting. So one time you went to sewers, and because of that knowledge, are you choosing promenade now? And they're like, yeah, I went to sewers last run, so now I can go to promenade. So does it sound like that space is happening here? Or does it sound like the space is happening here? I can right-click to undo. Because it's his knowledge that I did something last run, I'm going to do something different this run to bring replayability. And this really started to stick out to me, right? After the call, I said, where is this confusion happening? How does this happen? Oh, wait a second. The player is bringing replayability to the table. And they said, oh my God, I did this last run. It's giving me some space to do something different this run. It's not that the game itself was replayable. It's not that the sewers was replayable or the promenade. And they even said, yeah, it's actually always the same. But they have a little bit of freedom to go somewhere different to break that up. If I have one ice cream parlor to go to, and I have a different ice cream parlor to go to, are these ice cream parlors themselves replayable? Are they an experience that I can go to and it always changes? No, but I have variety to shake things up. I do. I have that. And it started to think, right? And I'm like, what? This sounds like familiar. And it reminded me of like a sandbox for a child. And when I say that, is it the sandbox that's replayable, or is it the child with the infinite imagination that's bringing replayability to the sandbox? The sandbox is always the sandbox, right? They go and they play in the sand. But with their infinite imagination, they can play in the sandbox for thousands of hours. They can bring a lot of replayability to it. And this really just stuck with me. Wow, why did I never think about this? Why did I never think about this, right? And it started reminding me of the current market, right? And how we don't know what replayability is, but we think we're capturing it. But we capture it by adding a lot of things to do. And so I want to challenge you guys to start thinking about this. And we're going to talk about like meta, because this is a very popular one, right? Meta. I want to ask you guys a question. I think this is a very typical, and a lot of people can understand this, a very typical look at meta, right? We add something like damage, right? It doesn't have to be damage. It could be whatever you want. Fill this with whatever your heart desires, right? We create a checklist of things, right? Oh, they have a lot to unlock, a lot to do, right? So the player is doing these things, right? We'll call the game replayable, right? Now, hypothetically, play with me here, toy with this idea with me, go on this ride with me. Now we fill out all these boxes, right? We put some time in. Is this game still replayable now that this hook is gone? Can a game be replayable until it's not replayable? Is a game that's replayable always replayable? So here we could see that we're creating a checklist of things for them to do. that is a hook that's supposed to keep them coming back. But was the game ever replayable? And I want to challenge you guys to like really explore this. And it always gets me thinking, are we making hooks that are meant to keep them coming back, almost like a membership card at your favorite food spot, more than the game being replayable? Because a replayable game should be replayable even without this, even without your checklist. And it really shows how far we are from actually understanding what we can add to our games to keep them coming back. What does a replayable space look like? And as someone said earlier in chat today, well, you know, you hear me use this buzzword all the time, the magic word emergence, because emergence can create a space for possibility. Undertale is replayable exactly 3 times. So all of a sudden, when you start to realize, hey, this player is bringing replayability to the table, right? The same way a child would bring replayability to a sandbox. When you start to dive into that and you realize that with their logic, with this logic that we're currently using, every game is infinitely replayable then. Super Mario is infinitely replayable because it's not about the game being replayable, it's just the player creating replayability. I think it really starts to show that we don't know how to capture a replayable space. Because then we have these games that stand the test of time, right? We have these like true roguelikes that we got inspired for, that inspired this genre. And they don't have to update the game with a bunch of checklists and a bunch of sprinkles to create replayability for thousands and thousands of hours on end. And somehow these people with thousands of hours still get inspired to share their journeys and experiences because new things continue to happen. How is that possible? How is that possible? Is it somehow the player bringing experience and replayability to a game where the game can also meet them with a replayable space? And it starts to bring up the word emergence, right? And I think this is also a good opportunity to start talking about that space, right, of infinite possibility. Originally, I was going to have a huge seminar just on this word, but why don't we talk about it? This word has enough to go around, right? We can talk about it forever. It's emergence after all, right? It's the key ingredient to replayability. It's the key ingredient that a lot of our games don't have today, because once their meta runs out, all of a sudden it's not replayable. It's the same experience, right? We can give them a lot of toys to play with. The same way we would give a bucket to a child to play in the sand with, or a shovel. We're giving them new toys to play with, right? The same way Dead Cells would either give us a sword or a bow. They're giving us a new toy to play with in the same experience, right? And then we can apply it to the experience. It's not encouraging us to create an emergent space to play infinitely. I like to talk about this example. I'm going to give you guys an emergence example. Let's say we have a warrior here. Here's our warrior. Our mighty, highly detailed warrior. And he walks into a space, right? He's crawling through a dungeon. And he gets to a narrow passageway. And what's chasing him is a big, angry ogre. Big, angry ogre, right? So this character is running, right? He has a design space, right? He can't take this guy on. He's got to go. He's got to go. This guy will kick his butt, right? He could try, but prior experience maybe told him this is a bad idea. This guy's very big, very scary. Probably not worth it, right? Probably not much to gain, right? Probably not much to gain. So he starts running into this hallway. Let's say this hallway is like a two wide hallway. On the other side of this hallway, let's say is a pit bloat. What the hell's a pit bloat? As roguelikes have taught me, it's a floating enemy. This is how he'll look in my head. He's like a floating jellyfish. Like a Fuzzy from Super Mario or something. It's a pit bloat. And when you pop this guy, he creates holes in the ground. Whoa. So our warrior's running from this big angry creature, and he's running through, and now he sees a pit bloat at the other end, right? In this hallway. How do I get through this? And now there's a pit bloat. All of a sudden, we have to weigh out our options. What do we do? Well, I can't run up and attack this pit bloat, right? That's bad news. Right? So maybe our warrior looks through their bag of things. What do I do? Oh, I have a spear I could throw. If I throw it at the ogre, I don't think it's going to stop this guy, right? He's just going to keep coming at us. We'll do a little bit of damage. That's no good. What do I do? What do I do? Right? I don't want to fight this guy. I'm going to go through so many resources, I'll probably even die. Maybe I throw the spear at the pit bloat. So we create a new space, right? I can't exactly pass this pit bloat. He's blocking the way for whatever reason. Man, if I only picked up that wand of teleport, right? This would be perfect in this situation. I teleport through the pit bloat and I keep running. And then I smash the pit bloat behind me. So if I had a wand of teleport... You're a wizard, Harry! This is my wand. Okay. Wand of teleport. Wand of blink. If I have the wand of blink, I can blink through the pit bloat and then pop him to put a hole in the ground so that the ogre can't follow me. Oh my god. This is just a beautiful idea that I just came up with, right? But that's possible if we have the right tools. This is amazing, right? The merchants of possibility, because of a bunch of things happen to line up this way. But in this world, I didn't draft the wand of teleport. I didn't draft the wand of teleport this time. Maybe I picked up some healing pots and I picked up this greatsword. Damn it. Damn it. I don't have the right tool. Okay, I have to think of a different approach, right? What do I do? I got it. I have nothing else. This ogre's gonna kill me. I don't got anything else I gotta do. I throw my spear at the pit bloat. Huge chasm in the ground. Well, I know if this ogre catches up to me, I'm dead. I jump into the pit. I jump into the pits. It's a Hail Mary, but we need a Hail Mary because I'm going to die anyway. I jump into the pit. Ah! Fall down the hole. Let's see. Let's see. I land on the floor under me. I take a good damage, right? I take a good amount of damage. But I survive. I didn't die. The ogre didn't follow me. Oh my god, I broke free, right? I broke free. I was gonna die and now I'm alive. As the room lights up, because we created a hole from above us and, you know, the light peeks down, I realize that I'm in a den of orcs. I'm in a den of orcs, and a lot of them are sleeping. Oh my god, what the hell just happened? A series of events brought me to this point that is telling me a unique story. One of the orcs wake up. Oh crap. I don't have any tools that can take this guy out silently. And the orc looks at me, and we just have a moment. And I know I'm doomed. And the orc starts screaming. And he makes noise and everyone starts waking up. Oh my god! I'm already wounded. I'm in panic mode. I'm in fight or flight. I gotta get the hell out of here. I'm in the middle of orcs. So I start beelining it for any corridor I can find. right? And I start beelining it, and I'm running, and the orcs are waking up, they're screaming, they're chasing me, but I do have a bomb. I have a wand of digging. I have something. So I just start shooting a hole into the wall, right? I just blow the wall open, and I just get in there. Maybe I could just funnel the orcs and try to survive, right? Now, I tell you guys this story because this is a story that actually happened to me in a video game. This is a story that happened to me on the air, and I'll always remember it. Because there's a world of emergence, something that couldn't be written. It was just a possibility. It was a space to have things allowed to happen. Emergence is a space that couldn't be written. And it allows a space of story to happen, a space of things to happen. But it happens because of the space that we create. So what happens is in a lot of these action roguelikes and a lot of these modern games, our space is already trumping us. Because what is our space usually? Kill the opponent, right? Take away that HP bar. Kill the opponent. So if we're already limiting our space to that, there's only so many tricks that we can do to create emergence. I'm not saying that it's not possible, but I'm saying that we already limit ourselves, right? Because we're creating a very narrow what you need to do. The mission here is take this guy's HP bar and make it 0. So then it becomes a lot more challenging to add emergence and replayability because our goal to set out with is also very limited, right? But you could see my goal here in this experience here. It could have been infinite goals, right? It could have been to kill this guy. It could have been to use the tool. Maybe it was to try to use damnation and make this ogre on my side, right? Maybe it was to survive. Maybe it was to search for loot. Maybe it was just to live, right? There's a world of possibility here. But you can also see that every time something would be added to this space, it would create infinite possibility. Not one-to-one. And that's what I was trying to describe to this client this weekend, and it really started to open. You can see they've really started to wrestle with, you know, I thought replayability was just the choice, right? Vanilla or chocolate. But because I know that I went vanilla last time, I'll go chocolate this time. And then after that, I know I went chocolate, so I'll go vanilla. I'm adding something. I'm trying to make this experience replayable, right? Because of what I experienced the round before. But now if they add something to this space, it creates infinite possibility. It can continue to echo. It's because these freak accident and series of events happened, right? Do you guys see the amount of actors that are in this play here to create this space? Right? We have the ogre chasing us, right? And he's driving us, right? We have my tools, and all the tools add infinite choice, right? I could have had the wand of teleport and maybe completely avoided the den of trolls, and I would have had a completely different story to tell. Because then maybe I would have came up with a cool play to teleport past this guy, and I would remember that, wow, I outsmarted this thing. I didn't even have to fight them, I just used my smarts, right? You know what's another actor that 90% of devs do not realize? I'm going to give you guys another trick here. All these games on the current market, all the games we talked about, Dead Cells, Wizard of Legends, Ember Knight, you know, Hades, there is another driving actor here that's driving this emergence. Do you guys know what it is? It's not the creatures. We've talked about this before. Somebody's got it. There's another actor at play here. My tools is one of them. Yep, there's a different one. My tools is one of them. There's a different one on the screen here. And I just want to give you guys space to think about it. There's another actor at play here, driving our decisions. The level design. How the level generated because of the narrow corridor we got in another specific situation that's very unique here. The narrow passageway created a new space, and we had to approach it accordingly. Do you guys see? Like, this would have been a different story unfolding if this space opened up into a bigger space. I wouldn't be blocked by the pit blow. Do you see that? So the space, true random generation. And I know that this is hard to see because in our current market, we use random gen as a sales tool, not as a factor for replayability. And again, we're not using this as a weapon. We're not weaponizing this information. We're using this as a powerful tool to at least be able to see it. We're not using random gen as a tool to drive emergence or replayability. We're using it as a marketing tool. So the space that is created can also drive replayability. Oh my God. So the random gen could have a specific purpose. Because you see, if we're playing a twin stick shooter, if we're playing Isaac, and we're fighting in a circle or we're fighting in a square, our objective is still to kill the enemies and dodge the bullets. It's not really playing a story. It could, right? We could have something in our way, something that we're hiding behind. But you can see it's not telling a bigger story. It's a very powerful thing, right? Because then we see modern games like maybe Unexplored, who has, I think, a lot of records for having some of the best random gen of all time. I've never seen better. And he knows the story that can unfold and aid to a journey because of the space that it creates, right? And I talked about this the other day. I had a big breakthrough that on the current market, what happens is we don't create a lot of quests. We don't create a lot of these journeys. We create errands. And this is really important to grasp, so let me repeat it. On the current market, we create a lot of errands. We create a lot of chores. What do you mean, SD? What does that mean? I want you to kill 3 rats. I want you to kill 3 rats. So that is an errand. That is a chore. It's not the driving force, the adventure between 2 points. It's closer to an errand. Devs, have you ever heard the term coming from a gamer? And they're just a gamer, right? They don't understand, right? Have you ever heard your game feels like a chore to play? Have you ever heard them say this about a different game? Maybe one of your own games, maybe something specific. Have you guys ever, one in chat, have you guys ever heard this before? The game feels like a chore. I'm here to describe these feelings for you because they're just gamers, right? They're not here they analytically, they probably don't have the tools to talk about these things, but they know that it feels like a chore. Well, it's probably because we are creating chores and errands, right? It's when your loved one tells you to go get milk from the store and they send you out for milk. That's an errand. That's a chore, right? Because the only thing that it's interested in is the completion of. Your wife, your husband, your loved one, your partner is interested in the completion of the chore or errand. What I care about is you bringing milk back, not an adventure. She's not sending you out on an adventure. He's not sending you out on an adventure, right? We don't care about all the excuses in between or all the things you run into in between. It's an errand. It's a chore. It's the same way with a lot of our games, right? We're going to give you a chore. You want to unlock this relic? Kill 3 rats. Tell me when you're done. All right, I killed 3 rats. Here you go. Right? It's the completion of. We're not creating a space. It's not emergent. Maybe it's not replayable. It's focused on. But let's keep going further, right? Because maybe that starts to resonate with you, right? We go on chores or errands to go get milk, right? It's not a game. It's not a space, right? Let's talk about film. I brought this example up to Ruby that I was talking about. It's like, imagine if we sent Frodo out with the ring. And we didn't send him on a journey. we were only interested in the completion of. We send him out, and then we catch back up to him. He's at Mordor, and he drops the ring in. How boring would that be? But we didn't send him on an errand. He was on an adventure, right? It was all the stories that unfolded on the way to the completion of. It was a journey. It was an adventure. I mean, talk about games like we're trying to create these adventures, but then we just put a bunch of chores, right? We put a bunch of errands that just care about the completion of, not the space in between. And so what I'm trying to do is really get you guys thinking on the current market. And when we get inspired by these games did wonderful things to pioneer for us, right? I'm looking at you, Dead Cells and Wizard of Legends and Hades and Raven's Watch, but we wonder where they're lacking replayability. Where can we push the industry further? Well, we're not adding replayability. So what if we start making these games and we work on replayability, right? Because then you could start to see maybe how they're not. Because a checklist that can be completed to say, oh my God, we have this checklist of meta to unlock over time, right? And this is just equals time, right? You give time and I will give you points to fill out this box, right? This is just the involvement of time. This is an errand of time. Give me time, go get milk, and we'll complete these boxes. But we can't say, oh my God, this is replayable until I until I fill out these boxes. Once I fill out these boxes and it's gone, what are we doing? So it's temporarily replayable, right? Maybe then you update the game and give us more boxes, right? And, oh, look, I'm adding replayability. Was that ever replayable? Was the sandbox replayable? A child playing in a sandbox? Was the replayability the choices between going to this biome or this biome and changing it up because I went to one of them over the other one the previous run? And this really just started to stick with me, right? It really just started to stick with me. So you guys want to learn how to add replayability to your games. This is not a one-shoe-fits-all, right? This is another tool, a very powerful tool to stop looking where these other games are looking, right? Learn how to add a cool hook. Learn how to add a cool hook, but it's not a substitute to creating replayability. It's not a substitute to adding replayability. Because a replayable space, a replayable game will be replayable whether or not you add 1,000 new artifacts, right? A lot of times those thousands of artifacts are not even adding replayability, right? They're giving new toys. They're giving a pail and a bucket to a child to play in the sand with. They're giving them a new toy to play with. This really stuck with me. This really stuck with me. So I want to encourage you guys to really start to ask yourselves about replayability, right? And what we're doing on the current market. Yeah, on the current market, what we do is we'll keep adding content. Where are you going? Even on a full release, right? What's the first thing that you're going to be asked in the forums? Do you have a roadmap? Are you gonna abandon this game? Right? They're looking forward to you continuously updating the game, and that's their replayability. It's you staying there. But if we don't start to capture what replayability looks like and how to encourage it and show it to the player, we're going to keep living in that market where you have to keep adding things to keep them coming back because the experience is not replayable. It really gets you thinking, right? And I also want to encourage you to stop doing what we're currently doing on the market and really realize all the tools you have at your disposal to start working on replayable experiences, right? Like something as simple as the architecture. It's not a plot. It's not a fake toy. It's not a gimmick, Random Gen. It's not a gimmick, right? We have to remember, we just forgot and we're adopting it today as mass produced, right? It's like a mass produced fidget spinner. Right? It started as a very fine craft, and you would seek a craftsman to use to buy a fidget spinner, and then it became popular, and we mass produced it. Right now, it's like a plastic toy that you find in the dollar store. Right? That's our Random Gen. We just forgot. We forgot that it used to have a very specific tool. It was there very methodically, very on purpose. Today, it's a parlor trick. Right? But we just forgot. So remember, we have these things here for a reason. When you hear people talk about like, oh, roguelike, this is not roguelike, this is not roguelike. a lot of people, I don't think they mean it in a gatekeepy way, especially me. It's not gatekeepy, no, right? It's not like discouraging you from making them and trying to be like, no, this. I also, you know, we could talk for worlds about, imagine how these guys that were making true roguelikes back in the day, imagine them without their own blind spots and with today's skills, or like with the Game Doctor, like removing blind spots, right? Imagine what they could do today, because they have their own issues too. Well, you know, let's not glorify it. But they also opened a lot of doors that we're not learning from today. And, you know, this is one of my favorite genres, so I'd love to really go in here, right, and try to educate people. We're not creating replayable experiences in today's market, but we are creating replayable hooks. Yeah, I want to open the floor for questions and stuff like that if you guys have any. We've been going on for about an hour now. And I know this is a very complicated space. But if you guys have questions for me that I can answer for you, maybe I know there's probably a lot of hungry developers out there. What up, Flash? Creating errands is a lot easier, absolutely. But if you're looking for easy, I wouldn't be a game dev. We all know it's pretty brutal.